Originally, I was going to make this recipe of chicken mole enchiladas. Well, I did. I made the recipe. Ended up being really bad. So I'm going to tweak that one and get that back to you at another time. So today is super rainy and I am going to make for you a soup. Making soup with any vegetable that you have on hand in the kitchen is something that anyone can do. You take them, you cut them up, you put them in a pot, you saute them up a little bit, and you put some stock on them. My friend calls it refrigerator soup, something that you just have on hand, something that you could just make from anything. I want my onions to be slightly smaller. This onion really is quite pungent and it's making my eyes water. Exactly the reason why my show is called Tomatoes All Day, not Onions All Day. I love their flavor, but I don't love what happens to me when I'm cutting them. I'm really crying over here. Be careful, this is a jalapeno. It can be quite hot. I like to use jalapeno in many dishes. It's one of the peppers that I keep on hand in the house. If you smoke it, it's delicious. It is a great addition to any kind of Mexican food. Sometimes they're milder, most of the time they're not. I can already tell by the smell of this one as I cut it open that it's going to be very potent, which means that it's a must that I wash my hands after I dice this. I worked at a Mexican restaurant growing up as a teenager, and I learned all about Mexican food and cooking, prepping, everything. In addition to the jalapeno, we're going to use some red bell pepper, which I'm going to cut up into nice sized dice, a bit bigger than the jalapeno. The jalapeno you need to make smaller because some people just can't handle all of that. You will sear the outside. You hear the popping? That's the skin turning black and the seeds on the inside popping. And every once in a while, you're going to turn it. That black color is what we're looking for when we're flaming our poblano. It's so great when this happens. No pepper coming out of the paper bag. So it's got some steam on it now, but we're going to finish the cooking process obviously in the soup. Before we do that, we want to take all of this black stuff off of the pepper. That is the char, right? That's the smokiness. That's what we want. That smoke that's going to be added to the soup. It's going to be so great with those mushrooms and the spices that we're going to be using later, the chili and the garlic, and oh, it's going to be such a delicious soup. I'm so excited. Now we have the green pepper, the poblano, and it's ready to be cut. We want to scrape out all of these seeds that were toasted on the inside. We don't really want those to be in our soup. So these are the seeds. We want to get rid of that and have those all be gone. We're going to turn it into strips. And a rough dice, just like all the other peppers, we can add it right into our soup. Look at the colors of the Mexican flag. Nice and in our soup pot. Olive oil, garlic, chili, jalapeno, white onion, red pepper. It's going to be delicious. You can see red bell peppers, the little jalapeno, the mushrooms, poblano that we just peeled and seeded, all mixing together. And there's little crunchy bits on the bottom. We're going to use those to increase that smoky flavor. In order to deglaze the pot, I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. I could also use some kind of alcohol. I could use some tequila would be delicious. A beer would be really good. But the apple cider vinegar adds an element that is just a little bit sweeter, a little bit tangier. Beautiful corn. I am so excited to use it in this soup. Obviously, when corn is not in season, you can have this from the freezer. In fact, I freeze a lot of the summer corn that I get, so I have it in time to use in the winter. And it still tastes fresh. So a couple things about this soup. One thing that I'm going to be doing is adding cabbage. So cabbage is awesome. It's hearty. It's healthy. It's so healthy. Oh my God. It's kind of boring, right? Cabbage is one of those vegetables that we kind of are forced to eat throughout our lives, and it's always like really bland. I always like adding a green to my soups, and I had the cabbage from my farm share, and I was like, why not try it in this? I have used spinach, escarole, Swiss chard, kale, and all of them work. Really great thing about using cabbage in a soup like this is because of all of the flavors that we're adding to it, it's almost like the blandness of the cabbage itself kind of disappears. Cabbage is also one of those things that goes really good with Tex-Mex food, if you think about the coleslaw aspect of things, but instead we're just putting it in the soup. Cabbage! Another ingredient I am super excited to use, oyster mushrooms. These oyster mushrooms are super juicy. It's a bit meaty for the soup, but because there's no meat in the soup, it's going to be perfect. In goes the corn and the cabbage. The next thing I'm going to be doing is adding the mole in. I want the mole to melt down into the base of the pan. In order for that to happen, it needs to have some kind of liquid, and the liquid that we're going to be using is diced tomatoes. Now today I'm using some salsa just to elevate the flavors a little bit. Stir, stir, stir. As soon as the tomato hits, that mole starts to thicken. It turns into a nice brown, rich sauce. It's so delicious. I'm adding about 3 cups of chicken stock. It's a fairly thick soup. If you want to adjust any of the amounts of any of the vegetables, you totally can. The last thing that we're going to put in are those black beans and the sweet potatoes that are roasting in the oven. We're going to cut the sweet potato into large cubed pieces. First you slice down the middle, then each round you third and you third again. Nice big cubes like that. You want your sweet potatoes to be uniform in size so that they don't get all weird kind of cook. You want your potatoes to be right on point. So sweet potatoes are much better for you than regular potatoes. So Jackie, if you're listening, eat a sweet potato, not a white potato. Roasting the sweet potatoes, I use some of the same chili garlic oil. It's going to add levels of flavor. I'm also going to add some salt and pepper. Go the black beans. Sweet potatoes just come out of the oven. Throw them into the pot. Aroma on this is so smoky. Amazing for a meal on this rainy, rainy day. So here it is, almost the end. We're going to top it off with a squeeze of lime, a dash of hot sauce, some cheddar cheese, some sour cream, whatever your heart's desire. But this is one of the healthiest things you could eat. So I sit here eating my dinner and it's delicious, super hot, smoky, spicy. Those jalapenos, the poblanos really, really flavor the dish. The spices that I use, the cumin, smoked paprika, is very well rounded and it's so hearty even though it's all vegetables. I really recommend making this soup for anybody who is nervous about cooking with vegetables and wants to make them taste really great.